Hi, today's recipe is probably one of the simplest you'll find on my channel. I was at my mom's house a couple weeks back, and my mom and her sister were talking about some of the Portuguese food they ate growing up, and they brought up poppage, and I totally forgot. As a kid, my grandmother used to make this for me all the time. It's basically a porridge made with wheat flour or corn flour or corn starch, which is different from corn flour. Really simple meal. A lot of times it could be breakfast, and it didn't always have to be. It could be like a dessert, almost like pudding. So porridges have been around for eons in every culture as a way to cook grains. You know, you just crush them up or mill them and mix them with water. They have many different names like gruel. In America, we have cream of wheat, or oatmeal in the morning is a type of porridge. I believe my grandmother only used flour, but some recipes I found also mix in some egg yolk. So I'm going to do that just for a little added richness. One key thing you want to do is make sure your flour is mixed into your milk ahead of time, or else it could clump up. This is the same technique when thickening with cornstarch, how you make a slurry. So you want to make a slurry with your flour and milk. Like I said, this is mainly to prevent clumping, because if the milk was really hot, like above 150 degrees Fahrenheit, the flour would want to, I believe they call it gelatinize right away. Those flour molecules would swell and they would clump up. So in this pan is 1 cup of milk, 2 tablespoons of flour, 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and we want to put that on top, and you kind of want to be stirring it all the time, at least until it starts to boil, and you could lower the fire. And we'll put in some cinnamon. I'm probably going to put in about 1/4 teaspoon. I also vividly remember my grandmother sprinkling cinnamon and a little extra sugar on top. I feel like the flour's pretty well incorporated now, so now I'm just going to stir with a heat-treated spatula. I don't believe this type of poppage is just a Madeira and an Azorean dish. I know people in Azores definitely had this as kids, and people from Madeira where this was a popular dessert / breakfast to have. Just like some people might like their oatmeal slightly runny, some like it really thick. The same thing with your poppage. It's just a matter of taste. So it's probably always easiest to start off with a little extra. So you could use like 2 to 3 tablespoons of flour. It's super easy to thin it out with more milk. And you do want to cook the starchy taste out of the flour. So you probably want to let it simmer for at least like 2 minutes to 5 minutes once it's thickened up. It's already smelling really good. It's a simple thing, but it smells so good. Can't wait to have it. A lot of times it's not served in a bowl. It's just served on a plate and sprinkled with sugar. Not sure if that was like to cool it off quicker, so you could start digging into it right away. I can see this is already thickening up. You can see if I pull back the spatula how I could create a trail behind it. That's one sign of the thickening. You can see it's nice and thick now. It'll even get a little thicker as it cools off. Also, the addition of egg will make it a little thicker and provide some richness. You can use cornstarch in this also. If you use cornstarch, I would think you would use at least half the amount. So instead of 2 to 3 tablespoons, I would start off with 1 to 1.5 tablespoons of cornstarch. Okay, the poppage have been going for about 3 minutes. I am going to temper the egg yolk a little bit. That just means you don't want to drop the egg yolk straight into that hot poppage because it'll cook right away. So you kind of just put a little bit in and kind of stir it around. Probably should have chose a bigger bowl for this. And then as soon as you put it in your poppage, you want to give it a good stir right away. And now you're just going to let it cook for an additional minute. You basically just want your raw egg yolks to get up to about 165. That's the safe temperature for egg yolks. I already could tell it's thickened it. It's added a little bit of a yellow tint to it, and it is smelling really good. Now we'll just put our poppage on a plate. This makes a pretty good portion for one person. This is similar to also what I had as a kid, cream of wheat. Cream of wheat is wheat flour, except it's not just the flour. It's like the mid-mill. It's like the mid-process of milling where still some of the endosperm, some of the bran is still in the cream of wheat, but it's also really good. So that's it. A little sprinkle of cinnamon, a little bit of sugar. One thing I forgot was a little bit of salt, so I'll sprinkle just a little bit on top. I should have put this in from the beginning, so I'll just put a few Sprinkles there. And that is it. Easy dessert for your kids. Bring back some Portuguese tradition to your kids. Instead of Captain Crunch, show up with this in front of them before they take off to school. A little poppage. They'll love it. You'll love it. Easy to make. Now go cook with someone you love. So good. Don't forget to check out my website, justcookwithmichael.com. The recipes are much easier to print out and organized on the website. It's easy to search for recipes on that website, so make sure you give that a look. And there's also some really interesting articles about a few topics. Pidi-pidi, I have an article on pidi-pidi, Portuguese influence on China's cooking culture, the history of sardines in Portugal,